Good evening, councillors and members in the public gallery. I will officially open this evening's ordinary council meeting at 7 p.m. Thank you for your attendance tonight. I'd like to remind everyone in the chambers to ensure that comments are respectful to the council and all meeting attendees, including city officers and those in our public gallery. Please note this meeting is being live streamed. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Item 3 is announcements from the presiding member, and there are none this evening. Item 4 is attendance, and we have all councillors are present in the chamber. Applications for leave of absence. Are there any councillors who would like to apply for a leave of absence? Councillor Maleka.
Thank you. I would like to apply for leave from Thursday the 23rd of April till Monday the 28th of April inclusive.
Thank you. Councillor Sazowski.
Thank you. My leave is for Wednesday the 16th of April to Sunday the 27th of April.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, can I have a mover and seconder? Move Councillor Palmer, seconded Councillor Latta. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, item 5 is disclosures of interest. Councillors, do you have any interest to disclose? Councillor Latta.
Thank you. On item 10.4.1, I have an impartial interest as I know the artist mentioned in the
And you'll be staying in the room?
Yes.
Thank you. Mine is also an impartial interest to 10.4.1 place names. Creative producer and Noongar artist mentioned in the report is known to me through my work outside of council.
And you'll be staying in the room. Councillor Sazowski.
Thank you. My first one is for item 10.2.1, 2024-25 statutory mid-year budget review. Underground power program is mentioned. I have an impartial interest in the item and information from the department that I have an interest in common. My declaration may need to change on this in the future depending on the nature of the report. Impartial interest staying in the room. For 10.2.2, the financial report for the period ended 28th of February 2025. Watton Reserve is mentioned in that report. I'm a member of the Morley Windmills Sports Club, and the sports club rents a facility from the city at that reserve. It's an impartial interest and I'll be staying in the room. For item 10.5.2.4, the quarterly performance report corporate, the underground targeted power program is mentioned briefly. I have an interest in common in the item at this stage, and my declaration may need to change in the future depending on the nature of the report. Impartial staying in the room. And in terms of item 10.5.2.4, the quarterly performance report for corporate, the Morley Station Precinct Structure Plan is in that report, and my mother owns a house on the border of the catchment of that structure plan boundary. Impartial staying in the room. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. On 10.3.2, future use of 476 Guildford Road Bayswater, particularly with one of the motions that have been flagged, I now have a proximity interest, so I'll be leaving the room for that item.
So, Councillor Johnson, can I just check, is your proximity interest with the... And if that doesn't get moved? Okay, all right, it's noted that you've declared it. Councillor Eveson.
Sorry, I just taking it off so you can chat. So mine's the same as the ABF, so it's 10.2.2. It's the financial report for the period ended 28th February 2025. Same interest that was declared as Councillor Sazowski. I'm a member of the Windmill Sports Club that leased the Watton Reserve facility, and it's impartial and I'll stay in the room. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you. 10.3.2, it's an impartial interest, future use of 476 Guildford Road. As chair of the Bayswater Childcare Association, they did make a submission, so that's already on your table. And also the, I've lost it. I'll have to come back to you.
Okay. Councillor Sutherland.
Item 10.3.2, future use of 476 Guildford Road. Want impartial interest because I know one of the applicants.
And you'll be staying in the room.
Yeah, it's impartial.
Anyone else? Councillor Palmer, have you found that other one?
No, still looking, and I'll,
Is it the significant tree register?
no, I don't think so. Thank you. I'll check through. Thank you.
That's the one you declared last week.
Okay, well, that should be on your table then. Thank you.
So do you,
Yep, okay.
if you
thank
just want to state what that is?
From the significant tree register, could you just 10.5.1.4? Oh, that's right. One of the people making a deputation was my former business partner in Carter's. Thank you.
And you'll be staying in the room?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right, so we'll now move on to item 6, which is public question time. Members of the gallery, I'll first call for questions on items on this evening's agenda, and then I will open to questions on items not on the agenda. Please provide your name and suburb before you ask your question, and keep in mind that you are limited to 3 questions. Are there any questions on an item on this evening's agenda? Please come forward, Mr. Dyke.
David Dyke, Maylands. Item 10.1.3, extraordinary vacancy, Westward. Would council consider an extraordinary election to fill one of the positions made vacant by Councillor Clark or Councillor Bull? I'm not in the West Ward, only I come from a place of caring for people and council, and in this instance, Councillor Johnson and other councillors that will be taking on many of the committees. To me, it's unfair on Councillor Johnson to carry the whole of West Ward by herself for the next 7 months, as there were previously 3 councillors. Extra time loading up other councillors with vacated committee positions. Yes, there is a consideration
Excuse me,
of
Mr.
cost.
Dyke, sorry. So the question is, will we consider having an
Yes.
extraordinary election? So that's on the agenda this evening, and council will consider that this evening.
Can I talk to it?
It's not a deputation, it's just public question time.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question on this? Please come forward.
Eleanor Hunter, Bayswater. I've read about item 10.5.1.6 as a car provided for the mayor's use, and I'm just wondering, on the grounds of needs versus wants, of the number of meetings that are attended and the distance between them increased dramatically in the last year. If this is the case, and this is deemed a fabulous thing for the city to do, that's wonderful. Have we considered how, when people pay their rates, they come with strings attached? People want open, honest, transparent, fair use of the money they give. In the times we live in when people are struggling.
Excuse me, sorry.
sorry.
The question, this is public question time.
Yes, sorry, I'm long-winded. Would this be viewed as being acceptable to a whole lot of scrutiny from our community?
Thank you for your question. That is an item on this evening's agenda, and council will debate that this
Thank you.
evening. Anyone, please come forward.
Sorry, I just want to ask the one question about in the agenda, page 182, about where the organization. So it doesn't mention where registered charity, but it's not
Sorry,
in the paper.
Miss Lee, do you mind just stating your name and your
Sorry,
suburb?
sorry. My name is Lee. I'm living in Bedford, and 185 Coode Street, and I'm talking on behalf of Neighborhood Watch Asian Community Services. So yeah, I see the page 182 talking about where the organization, but I want to mention where the registered charity as well, non-profit organization and the registered charity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So that will be noted by council. Thank you. Can we, sorry, before you commence, we're just going to grab Councillor Johnson back into the room. She's just left the room.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Georgina Kerr, Bedford. My questions are in relation to item 10.5.1.6, provision of a mayoral vehicle. There is mention of 20 out of 23 Tier 1 local governments currently providing a mayoral vehicle. My question about that is in two parts. Firstly, how do they compare in size, like physical, geographical size, to the City of Bayswater? And also, is that a recent introduction or is that long-standing policy?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Manager of Governance to respond.
Through the presiding member. So the local governments that were referenced in the report, the 23 local governments, those are what are called Band 1 local governments. So they are in Band 1 because of their size and population.
Is that population or geographical size, though?
Population.
So provision of a car doesn't particularly relate to population. It's surely more about geographical size.
So the reason those local governments were selected is because they're in the same category as the City of Bayswater, a local government.
Okay. My second question is why the chair doesn't have to declare an interest in this item, given that it's the provision of a vehicle for their use.
I'll go to the Manager of Governance to respond.
Thank you.
Thank you. Through the presiding member. So under the Act, there is a section that talks about interests that do not need to be disclosed. And that section lists things relating to fees, allowances and expenses. And there is a specific clause, and I can give you the section number if you'd like it, that says that when you're considering an expense that is paid in lieu of, that's set out in regulations, that the specific exemption applies to that. So that's why they don't have to declare it.
Right, thank you. My third question is, reduced admin costs are mentioned by the city in terms of putting in mileage claims and such. How much of a financial saving is that likely to be compared to $100,000 outlay and $27,000 a year ongoing costs?
Thanks for the question. I'll go to the Manager of Governance.
Through the presiding member, that's a hard question for me to answer. I guess it depends on the number of reimbursement claims that we receive. But when we receive a reimbursement claim, our process is to check the kilometres travelled, check the council calendar to clarify whether or not the travel occurred in relation to an elected member's roles and responsibilities. So there is a little bit of work that is required to be undertaken. It might be an hour or two a week, depending on the number of claims that were submitted.
And is that sort of a clerical level staff or somebody, like yourself? What sort of salary are we talking? I mean, and not in numbers. I don't want to know how much you get paid.
So
Through the presiding member, that would be an administrative role.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on this evening's agenda? Please come forward.
Harry Bazidas, Naranda. My question is to do with item 10.5.1.6 also. According to the item, to the officer's information, an executive standard car will cost $75,000, operating costs estimated between $14,000 and $27,000, giving a total cost of between $89,000 and $102,000 for this car. My question is, to compare, how much were you, Madam Mayor, how much were you reimbursed in the last financial year for travel by road, including taxis, rideshare and personal car use?
I don't have that information at hand.
Can I take that on notice then?
I'll take that on notice.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on an item on this evening's agenda? If not, I'll go to questions on items not on the agenda. Please come forward.
Lawrence Butler, Bayswater. First of all, I'll thank you. You're going to replace the tree on the adjoining property to me. But in this, it says it is not linked with the development and building approval previously issued for the adjoining property. If the council officers had done their jobs and enforced the regulations for protecting the trees would not have died in the first place.
So, Mr. Butler, your question?
Yes, why is this being disassociated with the building development?
Thank you.
Because to me, it's all connected.
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, the reason why we say it's not connected to the development anymore is because the tree was originally planted by the developer and it had an establishment period of about 3 years. This is normal practice for trees that are planted by developers. Once it exceeds that 3 years, it is handed over to the city and it becomes the city's responsibility. And I believe that tree has gone beyond that 3 years and it is the city's responsibility to replace that, and that's why we'll go and replace that tree.
Yes, I was just saying, but why is it disassociated? If the original trees had been protected, there wouldn't have been any need to replace it.
Understood. Thank you for your comments.
And that should have been to Australian standards 4970-2009.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question that's not related to the agenda?
Georgina Kerr, Bedford. My first question is, in July 2024 at the Ordinary Council meeting, there was a question asked by David Dyke about our friendly city and rat baits, and the response given by the director was that the city does provide some first generation rat baits. So those are the ones that are not hazardous to creatures that eat the rats. Last week, a resident inquired at the city offices here and was told that only second generation rat baits were provided. So I was wondering what had changed.
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director to respond.
Thank you. Through the chair, we'll have to take that on notice and come back to you. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you. My second question relates to high rates of crime at businesses including Bayswater IGA. So there have been reports of multiple attacks on the owner there in the last week. Can the city look at deploying CCTV and extra security patrols in the area?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director to respond.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, this matter has been raised through elected members in relation to Bayswater Town Centre, and we are considering a number of measures to be implemented. We have already increased patrols of the area by our security, and CCTV is an option we're considering, noting there is already CCTV in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question not on the agenda? If not, I'll close. Councillors, we have received questions in writings from 2 ratepayers this evening. The questions and responses are listed in your run sheet, and I'll take those as read. The questions and responses are also available on the city's website and will be provided in the minutes for this meeting. So item 7 is confirmation of minutes. So can I have a mover and seconder to confirm the minutes of the ordinary council meeting on the 25th of February 2025? Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Palmer. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Item 8 is presentations. Firstly, petitions. Councillors, are there any petitions to table? Councillor Eason?
Yes, thank you. I've got one petition to table with 73 signatures. I can read the petition if you'd like. We, the undersigned, being the electors of the district, formally petition the City of Bayswater to address the following: for the footpaths on the northern and eastern boundaries of Deschamps Reserve to remain as dog off lead, and for lot 300 Deschamps Road, Naranda, to be amended to be dog off lead. And there's multiple pages, and I'll like to table this petition. Thank you.
So you're moving it?
Yes, thank you.
Do I have a seconder to accept the petition? Deputy Mayor? Okay. I'll put this to the vote to accept the petition. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Eveson, Councillor Ladder, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Johnson and myself. All those against? Councillor Sosowski, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Sutherland. The petition is accepted. Have you got a copy? Have you got the petition? Yeah. If you can bring it up, please. Thank you. Okay, so there are no presentations this evening. Deputations were heard at last week's agenda briefing forum, and there are no delegate reports this evening. So we move on to item 9, method of dealing with agenda business. Councillor Sosowski, you're pulling first.
Thank you. I'd like to pull item 10.1.2, the City of Bayswater ALGA motions, and then towards the end, the 11.1 for the notice of motion.
Yeah, that's your notice motion. That's fine. Councillor Eason?
Yes, thank you. So 10.5.1.4 for significant trees. Thanks. That's it, thank you.
Councillor Palmer? Councillor Sutherland?
The one on Guildford Road.
10.3.2?
Yeah.
The future use of 476 Guildford Road?
Yeah.
Yep.
10.3.2.
Anything else?
And and 10.5.16.
10.5.16.
10.16. Yep. And that's it.
Councillor Ladder?
I think I missed the first one of those, so apologies if I repeat it. 10.5.1.5, I have an alternative.
Sorry, that's just the election signs one?
Correct.
Okay, yep.
And that's all. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Um, 10.3.4.
Bay Waste?
Yes, thank you.
That's the only one? Yes. Councillor Johnson? Councillor Maleka? Okay, all right. So thank you, councillors. We'll now move to consideration of the report in section 10. Can I please have a mover and seconder to bring forward items 10.3.2 and 10.5.1.4, which were subject to deputations? Move Councillor Palmer, seconded Councillor Ladder. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, so the first one is 10.3.2, future use of 476 Guildford Road, Bayswater. Councillor Sutherland, You've pulled this one. Are you moving?
I don't want to move that motion, but I just pulled it because I forgot there was a thing last week. So I don't want to support this one.
Okay, so you moved it to vote against?
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor, you'd like to pull it?
Yes, please. I have an alternative motion which is in the run sheet.
Okay. So councillors, you've all been provided with the alternative motion. We'll just get that on the screen. And I will ask if there's a seconder. It's on the screen. I'll just give you a second. And it was provided in the run sheet as well. Is there a seconder? I'll second it. Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. Would you like me to read it, or it's enough?
I think council have been provided it, so you don't need to read
good.
it.
So I first would like to thank all the applicants and the groups that applied as part of the OI. All of them, do great things in our community, and the needs are really noted. And I share the urgent need to find more premises or premises in general to continue the good work that they do. It was quite obvious from the officer's report that the condition of that building is really bad. It was mentioned quite a lot that the building is approaching end of life, that the building is not fully accessible, that there is asbestos, that there are cracks, that there are uneven floors. I read it and I thought the recommendation would be not to list it, and suddenly it said to list it. So I didn't understand how that corresponded with the responsibility that we have as a council for our buildings. I was not convinced that the fact that we went with an as-is EOI, then we are not responsible to anything in the building. This is not governments. We are responsible. If there be any problems with asbestos, with the ceiling, we are responsible. Councils are responsible. The city is responsible. So to say we are going to leave it as is and you guys going to deal with it, I didn't feel comfortable. I would prefer that either we go all the way, renovate and fix it and list it, or we do what I'm proposing here. But the middle way, I felt uncomfortable. I also heard the deputy last week, one of them explained that they are planning to invest, I think, beyond $20,000 for, to fix some of the issues. There will be expectation by any future lessee that they will stay longer than 2 years. That is obvious. They will be hoping that, and they might put pressure on us to continue the lease, and I wouldn't want to be in that situation. Generally, I would have, that the fact just on the record, also for the community, the decision to go for an EOI twice did not go through us. I would have never supported it. I think any asset that is subject or mentioned in our land acquisition and disposal strategy should not go to an EOI before coming to council for discussion and consideration. That is the process that I would expect. We have been talking about that strategy and the need to look and consider those assets quite a lot the last 2 years, and the fact that it went twice in that condition, I just note my surprise. The potential for that precinct is significant, and it deserves that we will dwell into it now. And during my time on council, it was only mentioned twice, but we never had the capacity to do that, and I think now we should do that. Definitely, because we have a housing shortage in Perth. So that's alone, I think, requires us to look at what we can do. But that potential of that precinct is huge. Now we have a fresh train station. It's on a key bus route. It's next to Riverside Gardens. It ticks so many things there. And I think we should sit down properly and demolish the building because of the condition, as we did a few years ago with a similar building nearby. Look at what's going on there and what the options are and what the next steps are. So I think that is the prudent way to deal with this precinct, and I'd be very excited that finally at the council level we will make decisions on something like that. So I officially ask for a report to come to us. I did not provide strict timeframes, as you will see. It will come just later this year. And I'm hoping that that will trigger serious consideration by us about what we're going to do with all that precinct that we own most of it. So I'll leave it with that. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have to admit, when I read this report, I was a bit torn about it, and that's why I've seconded the alternative motion, because I wanted to hear from the Deputy Mayor the reasons about it, because I did have very similar thoughts when I read it and I saw the condition of the property, and I totally agree with everything that you're saying about it will still be our responsibility regardless of if we lease it as the as-in condition, and also the risks to leasing it out on such a short term to a community group, any community group who has real need for it, and then asking them to vacate after a short period of time because strategically that has been identified for bigger plans. So I'm open to this, but I'm torn because we did have 5 applicants who were prepared to accept a property, even in that terrible condition, which shows to me there's a real need for space for these groups, and these groups all do wonderful work in our community. So in that way, I'm a bit torn, but that's, you know, we may have to make the hard decisions here, and I'm waiting to hear debate to see which way I'm going to go in terms of what's going to be the better long-term strategic, I guess, well, what's going to be a better outcome. So yeah, I'm interested to hear from everyone around the table. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Eason?
Not against, just a question. Obviously, we've only seen this afternoon, so just one probably between, it's probably going to be between, sorry, I'll let you distribute, but looking at the officer's recommendation and then the alternative, is there potential, because there's multiple lots on this site and a large area, is it possible that the city could do both and lease the property whilst developing a plan for the surrounding area? Is that possible?
I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair, yes, that is possible. I mean, the lease is proposed for 2 years. During that 2-year period, plans could be developed for the larger area there.
Okay. Thanks.
Did you wish to speak on it?
Not at this time, just interested in the rest of it.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Palmer?
No, sorry, I put my finger on while you said that. No, I'm not against what has just been proposed. And listening to Deputy Mayor, I feel that there is cause for concern, and it is, in quotes, cause for concern, as you've said that. And sometimes having these debates regarding an issue like this does thrash out the real needs and the dangers. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Anyone wish to speak? Councillor Latta?
Can I just ask a question, or perhaps see if an amendment might be considered to also seek expressions of interest for Red Gum Way, for that property that's been vacant, that is also on the asset that we've also been considering for disposal but haven't made up our minds about it. It's in much better condition. And if these things need to come through council, then perhaps we can package it in and provide an alternative for some of these applicants. Yeah.
Okay, that's not supported as an amendment. Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Latta?
Yeah, look, I'm pretty torn on this. I think there's a really clear need for properties in. We have clearly a lot of good applicants that need space, and I'm concerned, knowing the pace of local government, that building is just going to, it would be demolished, but that land is just going to actually sit there and be vacant and unused for many years before anything actually happens. And I think that would be a terrible shame. I'm not sure that there's any guarantee that things would move faster in this particular case than it generally does. So I think that we have here a good applicant that's willing to spend money to make the building safe, and they understand the terms of the lease. They understand that they may only have 2 years, and they've said that they're fine with that. So I think that actually the better option is for us to perhaps pull LIM 3 and put it into the original and go ahead with the lease and do that. So maybe I will just foreshadow that as an alternative.
So you're foreshadowing an alternative, which is the officer's recommendation plus LIM 3 of the alternate?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you.
Yeah, and I just think it's for all the organisations that tendered on this. I think it's such a shame that they put in so much effort. It's not like an easy thing necessarily when you're a small organisation to put an application together, and I think that we should honour that by awarding a lease. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak on this? Councillor Easton?
Yeah, I will now. Just trying to understand costs. So, LIM 3 talks about a report coming back. Next steps options, I'd imagine, like it's a large parcel of land, so there's going to need to be a feasibility master plan, something like that. So I guess I'm very uncomfortable about the time frame for that one, but I think there might be a good alternative that comes forward. So yeah, that's probably what I have to say on that one.
Thank you. Anyone? Councillor Sutherland?
I'm happy to have a hybrid, have LIM 3 go in with the what we've got on the table, but I'm not going to support the present what the officers have said, because this organisation's also already got a premises in Morley, and I'd like to see one of the other ones. They're both, the other one, the Asian Community Services, the Neighbourhood Watch one, is also a registered charity, and there's a lot of it does a lot of multicultural activities, and I think they need a bit more of a hands out than the other group, because they've got a very substantial building in Morley already. So I'm not going to support what they've got on the table, but I do think it's a good idea to have the hybrid, because that third LIM would get us going and to do something for the future.
Thank you. Councillor Maleka.
Thank you. After listening to Councillor Latta speak, it has swayed me. I am concerned about the state of the property as well. However, we have got applicants that are willing to take that on and to actually work with it to improve the property. And as Councillor Latta mentioned, the process for actually having to go through a demolition and decide on what the strategy will take time. So I can actually see a bit of a happy medium here where we can continue to do some kind of feasibility with or strategise with what's going to happen with the property, but in the meantime, still lease it out. So look, I'm still thinking, but they're the thoughts going through my mind.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? If not, I'll go the mover to close.
Thank you very much. Can I, Madam Mayor, start with a question
Go
to
ahead.
the officers? Is there any risk or liability to us if something happens at any of our buildings, including this one? Or we have an exemption because there is a lease?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director.
Through the chair, the lease agreement's got terms and conditions in there that outlines who's responsible for what. So both parties have responsibilities under that. So no way does it basically remove any liability from the city. What it does is just actually explains who's liable for what. So, yeah, so that's why we have the agreement in place. It's got quite a few terms and conditions in there.
Thank you. Okay, so look, I'll just respond to what I heard, and thank you everyone for the comments. And it's not an easy one, and I think especially because we went out for an UI, and as I mentioned, I would have not done that if it was my decision. Regarding timeframes, I spoke with the city and I understood that for that report that I'm talking about, the timeframe is reasonable. So it's not the most comprehensive report that you're thinking about. First, we need to have a discussion, what's the vision for the site, and that report will give us some more details that ever council saw about the site, about the land, about what are the buildings are there, what's the leases, and what's the vision. So from what I understood, it's fine. With about the condition, I'll just touch again the concerns from the report, page 60, asbestos detected, front and rear entry not accessible, termite damage, aged toilet facilities, not compliant accessible toilet, cracking, uneven floors, sloping floor, and there's more. I just don't think that because of that condition, that is the right building for us to lease to a community group. If it was a different building, I would have go with that hybrid option, which I think makes sense, not with that condition from my perspective. I think we should prepare the site as we already started, one by one, and then we are ready to make decision next year. What do we want to do? Do you want to go to a 10-day in EOI? You know, let's deal with our assets. You know, we have a housing shortage. We're all talking about it. We can actually do something with that corner. You know, the potential is huge. Supporting businesses, right? This is an opportunity to do that in Bayswater. And I'll just, again, just know that I'm sure that some of the applicants will disappoint with my position on this, and I'm sorry for that. I would have loved to support all of them if I could, but this is the condition of the building, and it's a strategic location. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll now put this to the vote. All those in favour is Councillor Malekar, Councillor Palmer, Deputy Mayor and myself. All those against is Councillor Ossowski, Councillor Eveson, Councillor Sutherland and Councillor Latta. Okay, I'm going to use my casting vote to vote against the motion. So we'll go to the foreshadowed motion, which is Councillor Latta.
Thank you. Do you want to
bring it up on the screen?
Yeah.
If we can get that. We're going to add the additional limb.
Yes, which is limb 3 from the previous.
Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Eveson? Councillor Latta?
Thank you. So I think that this is a good middle way. We have an applicant that's willing to improve the facility enough for them to make good use of it over the next 2 years. I think that they're the right applicant because they have, because they can invest that amount of money in making the building good for the next few years, as well as obviously they have a need for use of it. Given the previous motion that we discussed, I really think that it's important that we do actually think about this site. It's never come up the whole time I've been on council, and I know speaking to some others that it hasn't come up the whole time they've been on council, which has been much longer. And some of the bigger land decisions that we are considering, like even tonight on Bayways, that we've been considering since before I was on council, a year and a half ago, and we're still going. And I think we have like a much harder deadline on that. So I just think that the timelines are probably going to match up pretty well on this if we do the work in the background to decide on the future of this site while the community gets the benefit of its use in the meantime through the Multicultural Services Centre of WA.
Thank you. Councillor Easton.
Yeah, I've just got a question. So can I ask that
Yes,
now?
you
Yep,
can ask
okay.
that now.
So just a question for the city. 96 Slade, which is also shown in the adjacent area, is that currently occupied?
I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, I'm not sure. I haven't got that information.
Okay. Just trying to remember.
Councillor Ladder.
I actually asked about this in the last 2 weeks. There is currently a lease in place for that site, and it expires in January, but I believe that they will have an option.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, okay, I'll speak now. Yeah, look, I think this is a good option in between for some very similar reasons, or if not the same reasons that Councillor Ladder mentioned. Probably with that new information around Slade Street, so to demolish one site, there's still going to be someone in that adjacent tenancy, and I guess what this allows is that we can do both and start to plan all that out, manage the lease with the 96 Slade, and start to get all those pieces together. So I think it's a good outcome for everyone. And as mentioned, I think MSC are probably the best positioned in order financially, but also what they're doing. I remember from the deputation, I think there's some funding linked to the purpose for the use of the site, which is going to assist them. And I think that's part of the reason why they're quite keen to get in and can probably front the cash, because it's a longer term view, but we can integrate that and talk about it in the visioning side. So yeah, look, I'm collaboration, hey, that's how it all works. So I think this is a good outcome and encourage others to support it.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Yeah, I'm happy to support this, and I think it came down to Councillor Ladder talking about the hybrid model, that we can perhaps do both, and instead of having a demolished building whilst we're doing it, we've got a building that can house an organisation that seems to be accepting of the condition of the building, and we can get some rent for it as well instead of having a vacant block. And also I acknowledge the effort it takes for not-for-profits, especially community groups, to go through the EOI process and put that all together. So perhaps for those reasons, that's kind of, I guess, what swayed me in this instance. But I do want it noted that this, the intention of council is that it is a short-term lease, an option for the organisation. Yep. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? If not, I'll go the mover to close.
Oh, I don't think there's very much to add. I just think this is a good compromise here. The building gets used, the community gets some services, and we can proceed with making a plan for that site at the regular pace of local government.
Thank you. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Osuzowski, Councillor Easton, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Ladder, Deputy Mayor and myself. All those against? Councillor Sutherland. That is carried. Can we please get Councillor Johnson back in the room? For your information, Councillor Johnson, the officer's recommendation with an additional limb was adopted. Okay, so we now move on to item 10.5.1.4, Planning Policy Review, Significant Tree Register for Private Land Policy and Associated Guidelines. Councillor Easton, you've pulled this one.
Yes, thank you. And an alternative has been prepared by the city and on the screen. By the look of it, it's...
So councillors, you've all been provided with this in advance. so I'm not going to ask Councillor Eason to read it out. Is there a seconder? Councillor Palmer. Councillor Eason.
Thank you. Look, this alternative makes adjustments essential to, I see as essential to improving the process of significant tree registration in our city. What's proposed has two parts. There's a lot of red writing on the screen, so I'll go through and just talk it through. The first makes it clearer for landowners who request significant tree registration on their properties. And the second one presents incentives to better balance and enable development on land with significant trees. So some further understanding. The first adjustment formalises the registration of a significant tree by using an existing mechanism that's within the Transfer of Land Act 1983, using what's called a Section 70A. The purpose of a Section 70A is to ensure that any current or future owners are aware of matters which may impact the property, which is exactly, in my opinion, what we're seeking with significant trees and the registration of them. So I feel it's highly appropriate in this instance, and as part of the Act, it's been in place since 1983. It ensures that it will be part of a standard process, which I think were the concerns that were raised last week by the Deputy. And that's something, this is something, a mechanism on reporting and making people aware that I'm much more comfortable with. The second adjustment is around incentives, and there were some questions I asked last week about providing an improved height variation of 3 metres, not the proposed 2 metres, when there is a registered significant tree on the property. In basic terms, it provides the ability for landowners to build a second storey on their house and retain the beautiful community asset that is their significant tree. Anything short of this incentive, I feel, doesn't do enough, and in my opinion, directly impacts landowners who might be considering registering trees on their property. I'm not in the game of offering pretend incentives for people, almost a form of trickery, some might say. With private land, we need to be clear, concise and consistent so that landowners have the confidence and trust to register their trees and help grow our canopy. Yeah, I'll probably leave it at that for the moment and look to closing.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I agree with Councillor Eveson with regards to the amendments which we both gave. Obviously, Councillor Eveson added a lot more essentials, which was the building height, but certainly I feel that the titular side needs to be recognised for buyers of any property. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Johnson.
Let's ask some questions on that, please.
Go ahead.
So with the first bit about the notification, is that something that the city already does, or what would be the administrative implications of that, please?
Thank you. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Thank you, through the chair. A Section 70A notification is required to be placed on by the owner of the property. It will be a condition of the approval process that is undertaken. A Section 70A is identified on a certificate of title as simply a notification, and it will advise why it is on there. So, for example, in this instance, there is a significant tree on the property.
Thank you. Can I ask another question too on the incentive about the height restriction? So we heard last week, I think my understanding was that the 2 metres was suggested because that's what we could do. So could I get some clarification on that, please?
I'll go to the Director to respond.
Thank you. The draft policy has decreased the height from 3 metres to 2 metres because that is our current delegation under the Delegated Authority Register. And essentially, we feel that if you want to incentivise trees, it also comes with a fast approval process. So stating 3 metres at that stage would indicate that an item would need to go to council in every instance, and therefore not incentivise a quick approval process that is attached to the policy. However, this alternative motion seeks to retain the 3 metre additional height, but it also seeks to provide additional delegation to officers that enables officers to utilise the delegation of up to 3 metres in height where a significant tree is being retained or registered in this instance.
Anyone wish to speak on this item, against this item?
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
It says in D, 1D, that the cost is borne by the nominee. Can we get an indication of that cost?
I'll go to the Director.
Thank you for the question. It has been quite some time since I've registered Section 70A. Does the manager of... No, I'm just... Sorry, just bear with me. $210. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
I have a question as well, Madam Mayor, probably to the mover first, if I can, about the same section that Councillor Leder just mentioned, the cost of the nominee. I'm wondering if it should be the cost of the property owner who wants to register the tree. Yeah? Can the mover and second accept that change?
Whereabouts is that?
So that's a D. So I don't know if what's one. It's kind of a star under significant.
Okay,
So D,
yep. So it's under the heading Significant Tree Register for Private Land Guidelines, and it is D.
Yeah. So it
So
says the
cost of the property owner instead of nominee.
Yeah.
I'll just ask the mover and seconder if you accept that amendment.
Yeah, that was the intent. So I've just a good pickup.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the intent. So the landowner who's the responsible party. Yep.
Okay, so both the mover and seconder accept that amendment. That now forms part of the substantive motion. Deputy Mayor, did you wish to?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll speak in support. I'm happy with the changes that we obviously made at the policy committee meeting, and also the additional ones that we have now on the screen. I think they will improve the guidelines, so that is a good step forward. I do note that I am still of the view that even though we have made those changes, I still think that the policy and the guidelines and in general will be ineffective in stopping the extreme pace of reduction of trees on private properties by developers, not by ordinary property owners. They are not the issue. The issue is with developers come, clear, and go, and then future property owners come and the land is already cleared from all trees, and they would have loved maybe to have some trees. So that is the issue, and I don't think that will stop. I do not see any developer using this policy to register a tree. I wouldn't, and that's my test. I don't think, and you can see the incentives in the guidelines do not relate much to developers, and they are not significant enough to stop a developer and think, should I actually keep those trees? So in light of that, I will support, because I think it makes the guidelines a bit less ineffective than they are now, but I will be surprised if we will see dozens of registrations tomorrow morning. So I look forward to our deep discussion in April at the policy committee and in May at council meeting about the changes to the other policy with regards to this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Ladder?
I think I just want to speak on this. I don't know if I'm for or against, to be honest, because I don't think the policy is very effective. I don't know that this is going to make it actually effective. I think that it creates one extra barrier, but it's a reasonable one to make sure that it's transparent and clear to people when they're purchasing a property. But I do think it makes the policy less effective, and I, like the Deputy Mayor said, I do not expect to have a nomination under this policy, and that's a real shame. I also think it's a real shame that so much fear was whipped up over it, because it is not a powerful beast as people seem to think, and it's a shame, because there was an opportunity to build something better, and I think it's a shame that we haven't been able to take advantage of that opportunity. And I do also look forward to next month, and I hope that we can do that then.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Johnson?
Not against, I'll just say likewise, like, are we voting for this one, but with some reluctance.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak on this who hasn't already? If not, I'll go the mover to close.
Yes, thank you. And yes, thanks to Councillor Palmer for seconding. I didn't acknowledge that probably in my opening, but there was some discussion after the ABF and after the deputation, and I think that sort of started, what we see today. So, look, I share the concerns and reservations around significant tree registers. They aren't as efficient or effective, I suppose, across the city of Perth Broad Metro. So, look, there are challenges, but I hope that this moves us further forward, where people that were on the, considering it, can now have confidence about what the outcomes would be, and hopefully the incentive is enough to tip them over and get them to register their trees. So, we need a policy and guidelines that promote registration of significant trees and provide the opportunity to develop land in the future in harmony with significant trees. And I'm confident that the adjustments proposed will give us the best chance of seeing more trees on the register and enabling development while still growing our tree canopy. And that's, after all, the outcome that I think we're all seeking. So, thank you.
I'll now put this to the vote. All those in favour? That's Councillor Maleka, Councillor Osazowski, Councillor Eason, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Johnson and myself. All those against? Councillor Sutherland. That is carried. Okay, so that concludes the items that were subject to deputations, and we'll now move to consideration of the reports in section 10 that have been withdrawn by councillors. The first one, we have to do is 10.1.1.
Sorry, Mayor. I didn't withdraw any, but may I?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry to do this. I can't read my own writing some days. 10.2.1, the mid-year budget review, please.
Yep.
10.4.1, the place names. And 10.3.5, EMRC minutes for October and November.
Okay. That's it? Okay. So, first one we have to discuss is 10.1.1, the Local Government Property Amendment Local Law. An absolute majority is required. No one's pulled this. Can I have a mover and seconder? Move, Councillor Palmer, seconded Councillor Osazowski. Councillor Palmer, anything? Yeah, Councillor Osazowski, nothing to add. Anyone wish to speak on this? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So the next one is 10.1.2. Councillor Osazowski, you've pulled this one. Do you wish to move the officer's recommendation?
Yes, please.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Palmer? Councillor Osazowski?
Thank you, Councillor Palmer. Tonight, we have an opportunity to call for a stronger system of local government, one that continues to provide essential services and equality of outcomes to all local governments, but also a system that drives local economic growth and equality of opportunity. One of the key themes in this year's National General Assembly is financial sustainability. The existing federal assistance grants methodology does not incentivise councils to pursue long-term financial sustainability or economic strategies because funding is based on need rather than contribution. The current methodology used by the Grants Commission does not take into account economic productivity, meaning that councils like the City of Bayswater miss out on funding that reflects our ongoing and unwavering financial investments into our economic and growth strategies. By renewing the national principles to allow a productivity-based element greater than zero to be included in the calculation of grants based on the gross regional product of the local government, councils would be encouraged to foster economic growth strategies, improve their infrastructure, and increase employment opportunities. And this directly aligns with national principles such as jobs and skills creation and infrastructure investment. A productivity-based component in the calculation of grants based on our gross regional product would ensure that our local government receives a fair go for the effort that we put in. Actually, all local governments would see a tangible financial benefit to the effort that they put into growing their economies. Considering we only have the ability to bring in revenue through rates, grants based on need, fees and charges, this would create an elastic funding stream that local governments can directly influence themselves. A productivity-derived return to the local government will ensure that some portion greater than zero of what dollars are being made here comes back here and stays here. Incidentally, this is the same idea that the states have when it comes to the distribution of the GST. In recent years and in recent weeks, I've seen our state and federal leaders demanding more of the GST share for Western Australia as a recognition of our contribution to the nation's economy. This idea for a productivity-based return to local governments is exactly the same argument. There is interim information which has come out from the Commonwealth Inquiry into Local Government Sustainability, which is open at the moment for comment, where there is a call for a review of the Federal Assistance Grants Program, including the distribution formula. This indicates that there's already recognition of the need for reform, and a shift to include a productivity-based component as part of that discussion would align with broader economic principles, ensuring that local governments that drive local, regional and national growth are appropriately supported to continue to do so. This proposed motion calls for a system that acknowledges the unique economic outputs of every local government while still ensuring a baseline of funding for all. The City of Bayswater's proposal will help create a more dynamic system of local government that rewards financial sustainability and unwavering investment into economic development strategies. So that covers Limb 1. Limb 2, I think the timing of the meeting could be better. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Bayswater's gross regional product was 3.65 billion. What have we got to show for it from the federals? Sorry, we really need to push this at the ALGA, so I'm hoping that yourself and the CEO will do us proud. And also, I agree that, you know, our last, where you will be going over there, they did stuff us up on our ordinary council meeting, which is a real surprise for ALGA to have done that to us and to everybody else. Really inefficient. So we need to be over there, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask the mover and seconder if they would consider an amendment? The amendment is just to delete in Limb 2, just the last few words after where it says financial year. I'd like it to be financial year full stop and not suggest when they should hold the meeting. And the reason I'm asking for that amendment is because they need to schedule it in line with federal parliament sitting dates. And I know, for instance, in the state parliament, they have a break during the July of the school holidays. They normally have a 4 to 6 week break. I believe federal parliament may be similar. I wouldn't feel comfortable anyway. So I wouldn't feel comfortable suggesting a date. I would just suggest that they don't have it to coincide with the financial year to coincide.
Thank you for your explanation. I'm fine with that removal.
Both of you are fine. So if we can just remove that wording, and that forms part of the substantive motion. Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Johnson?
Thank you. Yeah, good on you for giving it a crack, I reckon. I don't agree, actually, because it sounds like, you know, the grants process should be about is an opportunity to create some sort of equity, and this kind of flies in the face of that, like giving more money to the people who've got the most, kind of like that crazy GST thing that you mentioned. Thank you for mentioning that. But, you know, I'm really happy for this to be discussed, at the meeting, and you've put forward a good case. So I'm happy for that to go forward.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Ladder?
I actually have really similar views to Councillor Johnson. It's nice to see you so passionate about something, and we've seen the work that you've put into this behind the scenes, Stephen. So well done, and I'm really happy to see what happens when this is discussed at ALGA.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? If not, I'll go the mover to close.
Thank you, and thanks, Councillor Johnson, for your comments there about giving it a crack, because I am going to give it a crack and we'll just see how it goes, and that's the only way you get things on the table, and that's the only way you get discussions happening, and who knows what those outcomes might be. So thank you for your words over there. Just to address that issue about, did you talk about inequity, I think it was? I actually think that's the current system that we have at the moment, where that's the kind of system at the moment. The Grants Commission and the way they do their calculations already is calculating based on need and disadvantage. There is no component inside that calculation that looks at opportunity at all. So I think the way that the calculations are currently set up still actually encourage disadvantage to local governments. The Grants Commission also hasn't done any modelling on this, and I had some conversations with the Grants Commission, and they haven't got modelling on this, and they suggested to me that this doesn't mean that there's any evidence that a change would be detrimental. Instead, they've said that this should be viewed as an opportunity to explore how productivity incentives and support for disadvantaged councils can be calculated and balanced. So there's an opportunity for a hybrid approach here that still looks after disadvantage, makes sure everyone gets the services they need, but also adds in that productivity component to encourage people to want to do better, if I can put it like that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now put this to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thanks. The next one we have to discuss is 10.1.3, Extraordinary Vacancy West Ward, because it requires an absolute majority, and I also need to call for nominations for both the committee and the advisory group in the order that they are shown in the officer's recommendation. And once we have all of the nominations, I will put the entire officer's recommendation to the vote. So, do I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Palmer and Councillor Ladder. Okay, so before I ask you to speak to it, I will call for nominations. The first one is for the Reconciliation Advisory Committee, and I will nominate myself. Are there any other nominations? No? If we can add my name into that, Lim. And then for the Disability Advisory Group, do we have a nominee?
You're not required to have a specific number of elected members, so it's up to the council. You could just adjust the terms.
I'll nominate myself. Okay. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to assure you that I'm already on that committee, and there are other councillors on that committee, so we may have been short, but there are people there, which includes Chairperson Councillor Latter. I think we have to look at how many months we have spare once this were to take, if this were to take an extraordinary election. There would only be about 3 months in between from the time election was taken. So, and that's why I'm supporting this and everybody can see it's just the support for the vacancies that are there. And I do understand that West Ward is a bit vacant, but there'll be about 3 months by the time the election takes place. So I think from a cost point of view, we need to actually understand that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ladder.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I think that by the time all the administration, the advertising period and the election actually happens, it's quite close to the time when we would ordinarily have an election. So it's really hard to justify spending even more money on another extraordinary election. So I'm sorry for Councillor Johnson though, who does carry quite a large load as the only councillor in Westward, and I'm sure I echo other councillors in saying that I'm very happy to pick up anything that you might need in that, and very happy to have the Mayor attend those 2 advisory committees. That will be excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Johnson.
Just take the opportunity to thank the folks that have spoken in support, to acknowledge Councillor Bull, whose position, we had a vacant position we're discussing, and congratulate him on his election. And as much as I love elections, and I think, you know, bring them on, I think 4 elections in 1 year would be a bit much for the good people of Westward. And yeah, we go into caretaker period at the end of August, so it wouldn't, you know, it wouldn't be it's not a lot of extra time. So I do appreciate the Office of Assistance, and apologies to the folks of Westward if I'm not everywhere all at once. But yeah, I think it's sensible not to spend the extra money and time on an election at this point.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll just say a few comments that I'm happy with the officer's recommendation, happy to be on both of those committee and advisory group. And just in terms of the concerns that the community may have about only having one Westward councillor, what I'd like to remind the community is that even though we are elected in specific wards, we do represent the entire district. So whilst there may only be one Westward councillor, there are still eight councillors and 1 mayor that you can call upon for any assistance, and we're all there to assist Councillor Johnson in that area. Anyone else wish to speak? If not, I'll go the mover to close.
Thank you. I think everything's been echoed, which is great, and I also agree with everything that Councillor Georgia Johnson has actually said, that she is a very hard-working councillor over the years, absolutely amazing, and we congratulate her on that. And we know that we're all here to help and assist if need be for the committee and council. Thank you.
I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Okay, so we now go on to 10.2.1, which is the 24-25 statutory mid-year budget review. Councillor Johnson, you've pulled this.
Thank you. To move the officer's recommendation.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ostarzowski, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. The mid-year budget review is actually my favourite item on the agenda every year. I look forward to it because we get to see the ups and downs of when we do all the work into a budget and we implement it and we kind of say this is the dollars we're giving to what we say we want to do, that in the mid-year budget review comes along and it's our chance to see what's happening, like to see, you know, what we've achieved in that year and where adjustments need to be made. So I'm always happy to see that. I know, you know, it's a sign of endorsement, I guess, for our facilities, that our memberships are really going well at the Rise and at Bayswater Waves, and even the golf courses. I see on there that we're saving around about $500,000 with staff vacancies. Disappointing. I know that it happens and it's a natural part of the adjustment, but it's not really an efficiency because I think it's inefficient. This impacts the service delivery for our residents and our region, and makes it more difficult to do what we said we'd do if we don't have those resources. And I know that's something that the CEO and all the directors are aware of, and we'll try and cover all those positions and that workload, I'm sure. But just noting that it's better if we've got our staff on board doing the work. We also, in this one, are transferring a bunch of money from our aged care investments. And I think I've said time and time again, the divestment of our aged care assets has been something that's been happening since I started on council in 2017, maybe prior to that, to be honest. We're now transferring out of our fixed reserves another $13.5 million on top of the $19.9 million we transferred at the end of 2024 in our last budget. So we're freeing up some funds into our other services in this one, and I just really urge the city to use that for the betterment. I'm sure we are with these transfers, and not to see that as a windfall. I think that's all I want to say on the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Osazowski. Just, if you can use your microphone. Councillor Johnson, if you can.
Thank you. Nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. So the next one we have to discuss is 10.2.2, Financial Report for the period ended 28 February 2025. There's a few impartial interests. So can I have a mover and seconder? Move Councillor Latta, seconded Councillor Johnson. Councillor Latta? Nothing?
Nothing.
Okay. Councillor Johnson? Nothing? Just for the
No, I've said probably enough.
Okay. Anyone wish to speak against this item? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Okay, so the next one is 10.3.4, Bay Waste Transfer Station Expression of Interest. Deputy Mayor, you've pulled this one.
I don't want to move it. I just want to speak.
All right. Do I have a mover and seconder? Move Councillor Eveson. Seconded Councillor Osazowski. Councillor Eveson.
No, nothing at this point.
You're moving the officer's recommendation?
Yeah, officer's recommendation, yeah. Thanks. No, I don't have anything to say at this point. I'll listen to debate and close.
Okay.
Thanks.
Councillor Osazowski.
That's all right. This site has potential, a lot of potential, has potential to be a transfer station, a waste collection area. It also has potential to be sold as well. And I'd be interested to look at what all of the options are available to council for this site. And I think this motion here allows the city to go out and look at all of the options that are possible.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Deputy Mayor?
Not against, in support.
In support?
In support, yes,
Okay.
thank you. I just wanted to note for the record my concerns with the end of LIMP 1, which is the sale of the site, especially for non-waste related activities. So I do have concerns with that. I probably will not be supportive of something like that. It was important to me to note it. I think listing it, definitely we do need to do something with that site. It has a lot of potential, it was said, but it is a key strategic site for waste services currently, and from my perspective, it should stay like that for the future and future generations. So I would definitely want to see that being sold for non-waste related activities, and maybe not sold at all. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do agree with Deputy Mayor. There is cause for concern if this is sold to somebody who takes this down to the waste incinerator, because that's promoting non-recycled goods. So I'm happy to support it as it said. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll go to the mover to close.
Cool. Yeah, so look, I think it's very it's due diligence to go through all the possible options, and I think the way that we've moved on this area or this site already in regards to just EOIs. I think this is a very wise next step. Consider all options and see what the market provides, and we can really, I guess, restructure if whatever the outcome that comes back to council later. So I think, yeah, thanks for. There's a lot of discussion and a lot of opportunity at this site. So I'm interested to see what comes back. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. So the next one is 10.3.5, EMRC Ordinary Council Meeting Minutes, 25th of October and 28th of November 2024. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Happy to move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Latta. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. October and November 2024 seemed like an era ago for the EMRC. I certainly just want to note that in these reports it talked about our CEO recruitment process. We now have obviously a CEO in place, and in the financials it talked about creating a reserve for the equity reserve. So just to sort of note those things. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Latta, anything? Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. The next one is 10.4.1 place names. Councillor Johnson, you've pulled this?
Yes, just to move the officer's recommendation, please.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Latta. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. I think this is a really exciting project that's been going on, and want to thank the officers and the folks on the group who have been working to create some place names for us in our area, some really important names and important locations within our city have come up through this process, and I encourage everyone to go and check out the exhibition relating to it at the Rise, starting on the 16th of April.
Thank you. Councillor Latta.
Yeah, I think just to add that it's a very exciting moment for the city. It's been in the works for a long time, and a lot of people have put a lot of effort, and a lot of really excellent conversations have happened as part of that process. And I'm really pleased to see the exhibition happening. I think it's going to be really exciting. I hope people go and have a look and connect with the place where they live in a way that perhaps they haven't before.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Sadowski, Councillor Eason, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Johnson and myself. All those against? Councillor Sutherland. That is carried. Okay, so we are up to 10.5.1.5, new policy, election signs. Councillor Latta, you've pulled this.
Yeah, I have an amendment, an alternative in the run sheet that I'd like to move.
Yep. Councillors, you've all been provided with the amendment. Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Latta.
Thank you. I had some conversations with the CEO and the Manager of Governance about our election signs policy after our policy committee, just because seeing how the state government election played out in like Maylands and in Morley, where there were proliferation of signs, and it seemed like it was maybe challenging to enforce. So I thought, if we could add this element of proactively making sure that the candidates knew what the policy was, and it would make it a little bit easier for the city to follow a streamlined process on it, and they could then assume that that candidates knew the rules because they had been supplied with them. We've just made it a little bit simpler for the city in the wording of it. So as I understand it, this particular clause 16 would be implemented in a way where local government candidates and state government lower house candidates, and federal government lower house candidates are informed up front, and upper house candidates would be informed once it's clear that they're campaigning in our area, just because of the sheer number of upper house candidates. That trade-off didn't seem worth it for the city to have to collect all of those contact details and let them know. But I think that this will be implemented in a way that is effective and result in something that hopefully with the right implementation is closer to what residents expect. I think in having conversations with residents during the last election period, it was clear that they didn't enjoy seeing signs proliferate in their area, especially when they weren't connected with the genuine support of residents by being on private property or adjoining verge, but rather just in any location where somebody could find it. And I don't think we need to allow that kind of campaigning on our land, and I don't think that that's what residents want to see. So hopefully this policy and the few changes that we've made to it will be more effective, easier to enforce, and result in better campaigning.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, firstly, I would like to thank the officers for initiating this new policy. The election science policy, having all the requirements in one place will be very beneficial, I'm sure, for future candidates. And I really liked, Councillor, your addition. I think it's a great proactive approach on this issue. Some candidates simply do not know the rules. So if you can help them, it might help us and specifically the city dealing with a lot of complaints that are happening during this time. So happy to support.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? If not, I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Sazowski, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Ladder, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Johnson and myself. All those against, Councillor Eveson and Councillor Sutherland. That is carried. So the next one is 10.5.1.6, new policy, mayoral vehicle. Councillor Sutherland, you pulled this one.
Yeah, I don't want to vote for it, so I can vote against it, that's all.
So the committee's recommendation is that council does not adopt.
I'll support that, yes.
So you're moving it?
Yep.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ladder. Councillor Sutherland?
Got anything to say? I don't think the excuse that other Band 1 councils have one, so we have to have one, is really valid. We've got such a bad, it's just bad timing, and we've got a lot of cost of living crisis. In a few months we might even, we don't know if we're going to put the rent rates up or not, and I just don't think it's a good look, so sorry about that.
Councillor Ladder?
Yeah, I think the same. Like I said at the policy committee, we have a lot of discussion around spending small amounts of money in this context where we do have a cost of living crisis, and I appreciate that this will ease the mayor's cost of living, but doesn't necessarily support the rest of the ratepayers. And I think that we have a policy already for claiming our vehicle expenses that I believe, or maybe I can ask a question, does the mayor currently claim your commute to and from council?
Not everything, no.
Okay.
But I will.
But you do charge your car here often, so it is the equivalent of claiming your commuting. So I think that there are ways already that serve the purpose that this would at a much lower cost. So I just don't think at this moment in time that it's reasonable, and I do understand that you know, an executive could often expect this, but I just think that our ratepayers right at this moment expect something a little bit different from us, and I respect that. So, yeah.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Osadowski?
May I ask a question?
Go ahead.
If it got to a point where reimbursements were starting to exceed the total annual costs of running a vehicle, would this policy come back to us for review?
I'll go to the Manager of Governance to respond.
Through the presiding member, this is a new policy, so it's not a policy that currently exists or that the council that's on a review schedule, but it is, I guess, there's an obligation on city officers to bring to the attention, to council's attention when we think that there are ways that the council could save money.
Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Eason?
Not again, it's just a question. In the current allowances for reimbursement, is there a cap on reimbursements per annum or any sort of limits on those sorts of reimbursements for travel?
I'll go to the Manager of Governance.
Through the presiding member, there are two different types of vehicle expenses that can be claimed. There are expenses that have to be reimbursed, so travel if they're claimed, expenses that have to be reimbursed if they're claimed are travel to and from council meetings, committee meetings, and also to compulsory training. There is another type of travel expense which is for all other travel to civic events, council functions, or vehicle travel required to perform the duties of a council. So those are also in our policy. Sorry, I feel like I have missed the question.
I'll go back to the Councillor Eason if that's answered your question.
Yeah, look, I guess I was just trying to understand, is there a cap or a ceiling? So it doesn't sound to me like there's a ceiling. There's probably different streams, I think, but I guess I'm trying to understand, if you were to drive every day for work, could you reimburse every single travel trip for work?
At the moment, there's no cap in the policy other than that the travel must relate to the functions of the council, of being an elected member.
And so the city did some work during the week to provide some numbers on what other options might be available. As an example, so as a question, an example, if you had, say, a $50,000 car and it was spaced out over a 5-year period, what would be an estimate on costs per annum for that car all in?
I'll go to the Manager of Governance to respond.
Through the presiding member, so the costs depend obviously on the type of vehicle that is selected, but the costs range from around $15,000 to $20,000 a year in total annual costs. That includes the capital depreciation or the capital costs of the vehicle, as well as the operating costs of the vehicle.
Cool. Thank you. One last question, sorry, so because the door's been opened a little bit. So I'm just trying to understand, so say 15 to 20,000, how many kilometres, using some of the reimbursement strategy or the guidelines that are provided for reimbursement, how many kilometres would that be? Because I know I've got some ideas around average mileage for people. What would it sort of equate to, I guess, that sort of spend per annum in kilometres?
I'll go to the Manager of Governance.
So through the presiding member, that depends again on the type of vehicle. So for example, electric vehicles are the reimbursement rate is much lower than for a high CC engine, but the kilometres for an electric vehicle would range from between 10,000 kilometres to 20,000 kilometres a year to hit that cost, and for say a hybrid vehicle or a vehicle between 1600cc and 2500cc, you'd be looking at somewhere between 20,000 kilometres to 30,000 kilometres would be an equivalent reimbursement.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll speak on it, I suppose. Look, I understand some of the concerns raised about cost of living. Essentially, what I've heard though tonight is that there's no limit to what could be reimbursed, and I know that there's a lot of travel that's involved with mayoral duties. So I'm probably concerned that if this policy doesn't get up, that reimbursements shall follow, and we'll hit essentially a figure fairly quickly, or could hit the figure fairly quickly if reimbursements were claimed, which currently probably aren't being as claimed. So yeah, I've got those concerns. So I guess I'll foreshadow an alternative which says that we adopt the mayoral vehicle policy with some amendments, which I'll get to if it ever gets to it. But yeah, I'm probably feeling quite uncomfortable about an uncapped reimbursement strategy.
Thank you, Councillor Ladder.
Can I just ask a question of governance? Or of the mayor, through the mayor, if the mayor is charging the vehicle, their own vehicle at council with the city's charges, how does that affect the ability to claim vehicle expenses then, if you're not actually incurring the costs of running the vehicle?
I'll go to the Manager of Governance.
Through the presiding member, so the Salaries and Allowances Tribunal sets out the rate that you can reimburse electric vehicle mileage. I would need to take the rest of that question on notice. But
anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Palmer.
Thank you. I'm speaking for the committee recommendation that council does not adopt the new mayoral vehicle policy. And I just want to say that in the reading here that we have, it's expected to be an executive standard up to 75,000, and also that the annual operating costs are between 14 to 27,000. Costs will include also ownership, including registration, insurance. We know FBT isn't in it, fuel, parts, servicing and depreciation and maintenance. So I'm sort of looking at that and saying, well, if reimbursement is for taxi use or so forth, I can't see that type of reimbursement being compared to the costs of a vehicle. So from that point of view, I don't agree. I also feel that Bayswater, where we have 34.6 kilometres, square kilometre area, is sort of, it's not as if we're travelling 100 kilometres like Stirling, or 1,042 square kilometres like Swan, and Swan does not have a mayoral vehicle. Their GRP, gross regional product, is 12.36. Ours, as I said before, was 34.6. So I'm just looking at the practicalities of the area that we live in, and I'm hoping that I've never claimed travelling, ever. I've done it when we've had seminars over East and so forth, and that's obvious. But as far as claiming taxis to all the meetings that we go to, I'm surprised. So I'm hoping that we can have common sense on this. Even Fremantle, that's 19 square kilometres, and they do have a vehicle, but their GRP is 4.89B. And I think you've got to look at the practicalities of that. So I'm hoping that without going through big figures here of the mileages of some of these band ones, that we can realise that we are fairly compact, and we have very, very good citizenship in order to hopefully stay in good budgetary terms. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Maleka.
Thank you. Look, I'm considering this policy in the same vein as Councillor Eveson. Look, having a mayoral vehicle actually gives us more of an actual figure. It gives us a capped figure. It's a dedicated vehicle that wouldn't just be for a current mayor, but for all incoming mayors. And knowing that 21 out of the 23 Band 1 councils already do have this, it's not something that's unusual, and I don't think it's unreasonable. We're also assuming that the mayor is attending meetings that are only within the city of Bayswater. It would be of my understanding that the mayor also attends functions that she's expected to be present at, meet up with government bodies, stakeholders that aren't necessarily in the city of Bayswater, and they are outside of our area. And so, you know, keeping all of that in mind, I think having a fixed cost of a vehicle that doesn't need to be up to $75,000, it could actually be a lot less. We just haven't actually explored those options, would be a much more reasonable and wise decision to make.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Johnson?
Thanks. I have a couple of questions and a comment. So first, can I just ask you, Mayor, it says in the report that you had requested the vehicle, is that correct?
I requested information about other local governments and what they do with their mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. And the other thing is, you know, there's a lot of assumptions going around about what the car could be used for or why it's required. I'm just wondering if I can hear from yourself what would be, I haven't really seen in the report a justification or a rationale for doing this. I'm just wondering if you could explain, please.
For doing what, sorry?
Oh, sorry, for requesting a vehicle.
So I requested a report on other, because I've been in this role for 3.5 years, and the discussions that I've had with other mayors is that they were quite shocked that transport wasn't provided to the mayoral position at Bayswater, given it's a requirement of the role that I'm mobile, and that can be 7 days a week at any time of the day, all year long.
Thank you. So make a couple of comments. In general, it's garbage that private vehicles have received so many tax benefits that they're seen as a perk or entitlement of executive positions. I look forward to a day where travelling somewhere by public transport or by bike is something as honourable, noble and supported by the tax system as turning up in a car. So in general, I think all of our, our incentives and tax system historically have created this ridiculous inequity as to have the whole deal about perks and entitlements for executive positions. I think what this is not about value, it's about values. And I just don't, I'm not supporting it, and I don't think our community supports it either.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. Because there is a foreshadowed motion, I'll speak about this. I also feel uncomfortable with this, knowing that a mayor's salary in Band 1, coupled with the allowance of an EMRC chair, coupled with the allowance of, or reimbursement, sorry, it's allowance, JDEP membership, plus super, plus apparently charging private cars in the city, plus travel reimbursements, that's almost $200,000 every year, councillors, and on top of that, having a new entitlement of $75,000 for a car, I echo what Councillor Sutherland mentioned. I don't think this is the right timing to request or consider something like this. Definitely not now. We have not finalized the budget. We all around the table know that we are aware of the financial challenges in front of us, and residents are struggling. So, yeah. I don't feel comfortable with that now, definitely not now. I just wanted to mention with regards to the travel reimbursement, and there was discussion about caps, the annual report that was tabled just at the recent AGM of electors mentioned specifically how much travel we get, and I just have to mention that, and the mayor, and thank you for reporting that, claimed $2,300. I don't think that is compared to $75,000, and I will definitely support you to claim everything that you, everywhere that you travel as part of this role. I think this is what the law allows us to do, and I support you on that. Even if it will go up, that's the way to do, but that is not $75,000. So I'll keep it with that.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Against? Councillor Osazowski?
Just in regards to the comments made about $75,000, I don't think that's the main issue here. I think it's in terms of the annual operating costs for the car. And I'm just looking at some information that the city has provided to us. And if we're looking at the low level, we're looking at $14,000 up to, if we're going for a $50,000 car, we're looking up to $17,000. So we're actually looking at what the annual operating cost is to the city. So we're looking in the range of $14,000 to $17,000. We must also remember that the Mayor would be required to reimburse the city for the personal use as well. So that $14,000 to $17,000 is actually our worst case position. Throw in reimbursements with that, you're actually bringing it down lower. So if you then look at the other situation where we have an elected member's policy for reimbursements, where we have unlimited, uncapped, no control over what type of vehicle can be used, you could almost get to the point where those reimbursements under the current policy we have actually do outweigh the total annual cost that we would actually have if we had a car for the Mayor. So I'm not going to support this as it is. I feel as though we probably would be in a better financial position if we had a car for the Mayor, but a much lower level car, not an executive car. We don't need an executive car. We need a car that provides functionality and practicality. Yeah, that's all I wish to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think I'll speak on this one. So I'm hearing that the majority of councillors are against a mayoral vehicle. So with that in mind, I still am going to provide some comments. The reality is, if you're in a role that requires you to be mobile, whether you're a salesperson, a pool cleaner, an electrician, or even a public servant, the organisation, public or private, provides that transport. The role of Mayor requires travel on any day of the week at any time of the day. And it's just, I believe, nonsensical to expect a Mayor to catch taxis and Ubers everywhere. They are not necessarily reliable, they run late a lot, they cancel, and they are not necessarily safe either. It's also wrong to expect that any Mayor, whoever that may be, will own a vehicle. Not everybody does own a vehicle, and that's when you talk about equity. So basically, you know, if someone in the community wanted to run for this role, they would have to have a vehicle in order to do it, because it's not necessarily, you know, and that's not could potentially deter people from running for this role. There was a comment from Councillor Palmer that she's never claimed travel expenses. Well, I've never claimed babysitting expenses. That's an expense that people are allowed to claim around this table, and I know that other councillors have claimed babysitting. I've never claimed that, right? So there's things that you may not claim that other people around this table have a need to claim. We're all different. And I take quite offence to the Deputy Mayor talking about my salaries, because that just shows to me that this decision is based about me being in the chair and not actually the role of Mayor, whoever that may be, because then you might think, oh, well, they're not on a particular committee, so then it's okay because they're not earning as much as the previous Mayor. Just on economics alone, which I think Councillor Osazowski and Councillor Eveson and even Councillor Maleka tried to allude to, just on the economics alone, you can't assume that the Mayor has a vehicle. So on that, you have to compare the vehicle being provided by the city versus reimbursements for Ubers and taxis. And I think on that economics alone, having a mayoral vehicle is actually a better outcome for the ratepayer. The fact that 21 out of 23 Band 1 mayors have a vehicle provided shows that there is an acknowledgement in the sector of the role and the requirements of the role in order to be able to fulfil the role. It's surprising that the council doesn't want to support enabling the Bayswater Mayor to fulfil their duties in an efficient and professional way for their ratepayers. Yeah, I've heard what everybody's said, and we'll go to the mover to close.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, you can.
Are we not able to have a pool of cars that are already here for you to use?
I believe that may have been provided to councillors before that information, so I'll go to the Manager of Governance to answer.
Through the presiding member, the city does have 2 pool vehicles available for staff to use, but in general that vehicle is very well utilised and booked out well in advance, so it would be challenging for that vehicle to be shared with the position of Mayor.
I'll go to the mover to
Sorry,
close.
can I ask another question?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just in relation to some of the comments you made. So the question is, are you aware that disability support workers are required to provide their own vehicle for their jobs, and they're reimbursed for that, and they can claim back the amount they travel at the tax office rate of 85 cents a kilometre?
No. Go to the mover to close. I'm going to the mover to close, yep.
No, look, I haven't got anything else to say. I never think it's a good look when people, whatever level of government, federal, state or local, when people sit and listen to councillors or politicians asking for stuff and arguing about stuff. So I'm just going to leave it there. I just think I understand all the arguments, what the Mayor's said about the extra costs, so be it. You can get good Uber services, Uber Deluxe, John Hughes, etc. if you really, really, really need it. But I think keep the status quo for now.
Thank you. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Is Councillor Palmer, Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Johnson and myself. All those against? Councillor Maleka, Councillor Sadowski and Councillor Eason. That is carried. So we now move on to (10.5.2.4). Nobody's pulled this one, but there's an impartial interest, which is the Q2 Quarterly Performance Report Corporate. Moving Councillor Eason, seconded Councillor Johnson. Councillor Eason, anything? Councillor Johnson?
No, just to note that this item on our corporate quarterly reporting reflects all the things that our organisation has been doing. I appreciate the reports.
Thank you. Councillor Eason, nothing. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? If not, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So we'll now move to adopt the remaining items in section 10 en bloc. Can I have a mover and seconder? Move Councillor Maleka, seconded Councillor Latta. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So we now move to notices of motion. 11.1, Councillor Ostaszewski, Maintenance of Streetscapes and Pedestrian Access Ways Programme of Pride.
Thank you. Did you require me to read out the motion or?
Not, only if you
not?
wish to, but you don't have to.
No, that's fine. I'll leave it
Okay.
then. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Maleka. Councillor Ostaszewski.
Thank you. During my time as councillor, I have received strong feedback from the community regarding the upkeep of our streetscapes and pedestrian access ways. I've received numerous and ongoing concerns about overgrown vegetation blocking footpaths, weeds, dying, unmowed, unedged median strips, lack of upkeep of overgrown grass in parks, illegal dumping, strewn rubbish, graffiti, leaf and nut litter on paths, creating hazards, unswept streets, rusting minor infrastructure, broken street signage, planter boxes and seating, and I'm sure the list goes on if I were to go back through my email to see the emails that have come through. The city is trying its best to keep up, and I appreciate the city's ongoing response to attending to issues that are raised. And I note that some extra works have been undertaken recently with the help of a contractor. To address ongoing issues and increasing dissatisfaction, I would like for us to introduce what I like to call a program of pride, an initiative focused on being proactive and getting ahead on cleaning up our city streets and pedestrian access ways. Improving upkeep, cleanliness, maintenance, and the visual appeal of the city's streetscapes and pedestrian access ways is not just the city's responsibility. It requires the whole community to get on board and to do what they can do in their own way to make sure that their verge is also given a little bit of extra love. It makes such a big difference to a street. This motion asks the city to work collaboratively with residents, property owners, and businesses to take an active role in enhancing their surroundings by accessing the numerous verge improvement programs and rebates that we offer. I hope people will take up these incentives. Fostering a shared responsibility on how we look after our city, we can create cleaner and attractive streetscapes. We can create pedestrian access ways that are free from trash and safe to walk through. We can create neighbourhoods and town centres and entry thoroughfares into our city that catch people's attention because they are attractive and well maintained. With increased tidying, cleaning and upkeep, maintenance and community involvement through education, the program of Pride will help to ensure long-term benefits for all residents. The way we present our city is so important, and I feel a program of Pride will bring significant potential to our city.
Thank you. Councillor Maleka.
Thank you. Well, I won't repeat all of the things that you've just stated, Councillor Ostaszewski, but I hear this constantly from members of our community too. They've made it clear and they feel like we're not doing enough, but in actual fact, we just can't keep up. This motion takes those concerns and turns them into actions. It commits the city to acknowledging the community's outcry and allocate resources so we can be agile and address these issues swiftly and effectively. Now, a second component offers to work with the landowners who are often time poor and might face challenges in managing their verges and spaces. It offers our local residents support and advice and incentivises verge maintenance. Whether you agree or not, I would beg to differ that well-maintained spaces undeniably enhance the visual appeal of an area, making it more inviting both to residents and to visitors. I'm sure we can all think of places travelled in and outside of Australia and abroad that you've considered are poorly maintained. Think about how those places make you feel. A well-managed area can uplift community morale and foster a sense of pride and contributes to a more positive and public image of our city. So, a program of pride inspires individuals to take ownership of the place that they live and the places that they work. It has the potential to create a ripple effect, spreading a contagious sense of care and responsibility for our city and for our way of life. I don't believe that this motion is a nice to have. I believe this motion is a must have.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank all of the workers in the city for all the jobs they do. And I've seen our workmen doing the trees, and a gentleman comes out and starts, giving him hell about a few branches on the floor. You know, they put up with a lot of stick, and I say that in that manner. I think our staff are actually brilliant. The city currently, and this is what's written here, currently has crews in the transport infrastructure and operations service area that undertake maintenance activities along arterial roads. The city has streetscape maintenance and sub-service with the Parks and Gardens Service. The city also provides opportunities for residents to install a water-wise verge treatment through the city's annual water-wise verge programme. Residents can receive up to $250 for verges smaller than 80 or up to $500 for verges larger than 80 square metres to assist with improving their verge in the 24-25 financial year. $10,000 reimbursement from the Water Corporation as part of the Waterwise Greening Scheme. The city also provides free street trees as part of the annual. How much more do you expect people to do? Now, trees blow leaves. People phone and say, I've got thousands of leaves in my gutters and whatever. You know, we've got to see practicality. Let's all calm down here. I really think that it's over the top. We also have now financial implications written here. To install and maintain verge treatments across the city would be cost prohibitive. For example, if the city decided to improve 10% of all verges across the city at an average cost of $5,000 per verge, it would equate to $14.5 million. Now, there hasn't been a cost in here, a substantial cost of what this programme of pride is going to give us. And I'm not very happy with that because the cost for upgrading and renewal of right-of-ways, which has been mentioned, $88,000. Major path repairs, $40,000. Residential verge maintenance programme, $120,000. Median Island maintenance programme, $31,000. Arterial verge maintenance programme, $33,000. Now, these were all given in 2023. The city pays and cleans the city beautifully. There's never going to be perfection. And to start expecting people to ask others, you know, get your neighbour to do programme of pride, I think it's insulting to the neighbourhood. We have a wonderful, wonderful gardens. Of course, there's going to be others that aren't going to be kept as well as yours or mine or whatever, but we have to use practicality and common sense. We also know that the budget is actually increasing for the next year, and therefore there is no need for this in the way it's written. I feel that the city is quite capable of asking for extra employment if they need it, which they have done, and that will come up in the budget, I'm sure. So I have full confidence in the way the city manages their verges, manages their parks, and that they do not need to have a programme of pride to push the neighbourhood into doing this. I think it's absolutely embarrassing for us to even think that people are doing that. Now, in 2023, all of those costs that I mentioned, Councillor Ostaszewski was wiping them off, saying, no, we don't want this. We don't need that. Well, we certainly do, and we do have it. And I'm quite happy with what the city's doing, and I congratulate them all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Sutherland?
Look, I totally agree with this. I'm not quite sure what I don't see anything in here about private property. All it's saying is to increase things like street sweeping, repairs to furniture, etc. If you go down Progress Street, last week twice, I was there 1 week, and the shop owners have said, can you get somebody to clean this up? It's nothing about trees or people, you know, our workers, what they do or don't do. It's just that we have to increase the maintenance to keep up with the increase in volume of people that are around there. And it's just not good enough. If you go to other streets, like I've spent obviously a lot of time on Beaufort Street in the last few months, you don't have the broken street furniture, you don't have litter sweeping around the streets. And here, in some areas, you do. So that's all this, in my opinion, this is trying to look at. We have to do better in this way. Also, while I'm on my high horse, graffiti, that's the biggest bugbear out. It just makes the place look unkept, and that's an issue for another day. But I think this is a good policy or a motion, and I think we should try and do that. The other one is, I know some of the North Ward councillors have looked at this, looking at cleaning up some of the alleyways and that we have, because some of those are not looking too crash hot either.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Latta?
Can I just ask some questions? It's not really clear to me from this how the city intends to actually implement LIM 2B. Could I get some comment on that?
I'll go to the director to respond.
Almost broke it then. Through the chair, in terms of how the city would go about doing this, some thought and decisions need to be made in terms of how we can do it. There's different ideas. It's probably something that we'd come back to the council, maybe through a workshop or some sort of briefing to discuss it and make sure that everybody's on board in terms of how we want to go about it. So at this point in time, it's about getting, I suppose, the direction that we can look at it, and then we'll come up with methodology in terms of how we go about it.
So just a follow-up, I suppose, is this, it does say that in the report that the intention of it would be to reduce the unkempt verge mowing program by incentivising verge maintenance, or the city possibly doing, like, providing those verge treatments ourselves. Are these the kinds of options, like up to $5,000 per, sorry, an average cost of $5,000 per verge?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, I mean, that the figures that were provided with $5,000 a verge, that's if the city went and actually installed verge treatments on people's verges. There's just some figures to demonstrate, and if we went to that extent, how much it would actually cost. It's probably more likely that we'd have a program in place that we'd have some sort of incentive to encourage people to improve the verges themselves. Then, you know, that could reduce the unkempt mowing program to the point where some of that money could be transferred over to those incentives for those verges. We haven't decided that yet. If council makes this decision, then we will go and work on some options in terms of how we could do it, and we'd bring that back to a council workshop or some sort of forum to discuss it further.
Do you know how much the unkept verge mowing program is currently? Like, how much the budget is for this current financial year?
That's actually in the report. It's about 185,000.
Thank you.
Did you wish to speak to it? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. I will speak in support of the motion. Firstly, I would like to echo Councillor Palmer's support for the officers and what they have been doing in our city. So I do share that and would like to thank them for what they do. Obviously, it's a capacity issue and resourcing issue, and not necessarily the quality of work of the officers. So I think that was important to mention. I note that the key thing here at the motion is that we will consider that as part of the annual business planning process. So I see that as more about the topic and less about the details. I'm not sure about the title. I'm not sure about the whole list. But for me, it's beyond that. It's about increasing the level of maintenance in our city, which I fully support. I spoke with councillors about it on various occasions. I put it on the board at our last year's strategic workshop. It's an ongoing issue that I also have been experiencing. I think we can do more in this area all around the city. I think it's across. I think it will be probably, as again, it's a capacity issue. We should discuss how we do this, maybe target specific areas like the town centres in particular, which I think need more love, and some of the verges. But I like the engagement with property owners and thinking about that. I think I have a feeling that many property owners, if there was some service out there just to mow the verge, they will take it. You know, I saw on social media many times, anyone knows any young person, you know, that can actually do that for us, and nobody is doing that. So I think maybe we can be more proactive here and see how we can do this for the benefit of everyone. Be more proactive. It is a key issue, maintenance, and I think by doing a bit more investment in this, more than what we do now, I think the benefits from every perspective will go much higher. Residents do appreciate that when they walk and they see that they don't need to make complaints to get things done, that things are dealt with as part of an ongoing maintenance scheme. It's a capacity issue, but I think we should discuss it in more seriousness in this budget. So thank you. I will support this.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Easton?
Yeah, probably just quickly. So completely agree with the Deputy Mayor. I think it's a capacity issue. It seems to be in the budget processes previously. You know, we've got some challenges with a very large asset base and a tight budget annually to try and achieve a really high level of service that the community expects. But I think this aligns to what community have been asking for some time. I definitely get the requests. I raise Snap Send Solve like crazy. The city, I'm an active user, I'll put it that way. So there's a lot of requests that go through, and for me, it's a focus on fundamentals. So this is what people expect. We want to have clean, safe, tidy-looking streets, and it is around. It's not necessarily just around pruning, but it's actually, you know, broken curbs, trip hazards, all of the other things that safety related as well. And there's a lot of them. Like I say, almost every time I go out, I'm raising Snap Send Solves to get action for the city. So I think this is an unlocking and enablement piece that the council can look at as part of the planning process. But I also really enjoy section like point B about engaging property owners, very similar to verge tree planting that we've gone through. We're trying to raise awareness that everybody can actually do something small and have contribute to something really good for everybody. I don't get the luxury of a great looking verge, of lots of concrete because of the road that I'm on, but you know, it would be really nice to be able to contribute and help others that probably don't have the money, don't have the understanding, knowledge, and I think this can encompass a lot of the things that we're doing around greening and improving our streetscapes in general. So I'm very happy to support this. Good job.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Ladder?
Oh, I just want to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciate the information that I got, and I think I'm happy to have these, to continue the conversation about this in a workshop. I think that 1 and 2A are already kind of covered in what the city has brought to us for consideration anyway. So I think that it's in line with what we want to see in the city. I also get a lot of complaints, and particularly in Maylands, where we have a lot of rental properties. Rental costs are extremely high right now, and we cannot expect those people renting under those conditions to also have money to beautify their verges. Like, it's just not reasonable. So if there are ways for the city to assist with that, I think that people in Maylands certainly will appreciate it, where it's currently a bit of a dust bowl after underground power has gone through. So I think it's a great opportunity, actually. But I'm sure that this would be appreciated across the city. I think it's just about getting the balance right in terms of what we're willing, what we feel ratepayers are willing to spend for the kind of outcome that they want to see. I'm not sure that actually they want us to spend the amount that it would take to get the perfect outcome, but perhaps we can get some cost-effective improvements. So I will support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson? No? Yeah, I'm supportive of this as well. Thank you to Councillor Ostowski for bringing it through. I like that it's suggested to go through our annual business planning process, as all of these things should be doing. And I too get a lot of complaints from people who just want to see our city beautified, who, you know, tell me that, you know, in past days, they believe things were done to a higher standard. Whether or not that's true, that's their perception, and I don't think it's a bad thing having a direction from council to the city, knowing that this is a priority for us. We want our city to be beautiful, we want our city to be livable, we want our people to take pride in living in the city of Bayswater. So I think that's a good thing. I think people in the community would be supportive of a program like this. And particularly when we come to 2B, engaging with property owners to encourage and assist them with the beautification of their verges. That's where I think it's things that we already do, like, you know, it talks here about our Waterwise verge program, and we do the free trees to residents program. It's about doing what we already do, but in a more targeted way. We know that there are people who don't necessarily engage with the city services, aren't aware of all of these things. And instead of just putting it out there in the general, you know, world, like if you're interested, come and pick up a plant here. Let's try and target those residents that may need a bit of assistance, that don't know, aren't engaged with the city, and say, hey, you know, we can offer you this. Would you like this? And go to those areas that need it. And it's very visible, you know, where we can target. So that's where I see. I don't think it's necessarily anything additional. It's just doing things differently that we already do to probably get a better outcome. So anyone wish to speak against? If not, I'll go to the mover to close.
Thanks very much, everyone, for contributing tonight. We absolutely support our staff and our officers for the work that they do. And at the beginning of my opening, I did say that the city is doing its best to attend to the issues that are being raised. So thank you to the city staff for their work. This absolutely is a capacity issue, and I think we need to attend to that capacity issue. It's got nothing to do with the quality of the work that the people do at all. It's got to do with the amount of work that's actually getting done and keeping up with the work that needs to be done. I 100% agree about targeting specific areas, focusing on our town centres, absolutely, because the better your town centre looks, I think the more opportunity we have to have economic development. And then also in regards to our main roads and our main entry ways into our city, our main roads that come into our city from all of the other suburbs, if they're looking good, it's attractive, it invites people to come in, and it makes people want to stay in the city of Bayswater. I think residents would be very happy to see the city taking a more proactive approach to streetscape maintenance and maintaining our pedestrian access ways. And I think ratepayers like actual town, to be able to see tangible outcomes or tangible ways to see how their rates are being spent. So I think the ratepayers would absolutely support a program of pride. Finally, the report does mention that as part of the 25-26 business planning process, that extra resourcing and an increase in service provision is being considered by council to meet the expectations of the community. And I would like to just say that by supporting this motion tonight, we are giving confidence and direction to the city that they are on the right path in the business planning process. And it will also be a signal to residents that we acknowledge their concerns and we're actually prepared to do something about it.
Thank you. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's Councillor Maleka, Councillor Ostowski, Councillor Eason, Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor and myself. All those against? Councillor Palmer and Councillor Johnson. That is carried. So we go on to item 12, which is questions from members without notice. Are there any questions? Councillor Easton.
Yeah, I got a couple. First one, Galleria, another month passed. Is there any update on the Galleria? Because the development application was recently revised and reapproved. Have we seen any progress for the next stages, which would finally see refurbishment work commence at Galleria?
Thank you. I'll go to the Director.
Thank you. I might provide the overall update for 2025. So to inform council, seeing as the question's been asked through the chair, we did receive a development application on the 12th of February of this year for amendments to the Galleria Shopping Centre, which were subsequently approved by the Metro Inner Development Assessment Panel. As a result of those minor modifications to the existing approval, we did receive a building permit on the 7th of March 2025, and this building permit application was for the Galleria and essentially related to internal defitting and demolition works. And that building permit was issued on the 19th of March 2025, and those works can now commence. We believe that those works will support the next building permit, which will hopefully be for the total redevelopment as part of stage 1.
Thank you. Cool. And there was probably a question similarly in this vein, which so it's good to hear that things are happening. But on Saturday, I was confronted with a quite terrible situation of antisocial and criminal behaviour occurring in the Bayswater Town Centre. Can the city please provide an update on what's being done to assist the local businesses and community in that area, please?
I'll go to the Director.
Thank you for the question. So, as I had mentioned in public question time, we have been made aware of the issues by the elected members in the Bayswater Town Centre. As a result of that, we do have, as city officers, have a meeting with the acting district superintendent tomorrow. And also we will be having a meeting with the officer in charge at Bayswater Police Station next week, and that will be confirmed shortly. At those two meetings, we intend to bring up the issues that have been raised by the residents and the business owners in relation to Bayswater Town Centre, and looking at a coordinated approach moving forward. In addition to that, as of today, the city has increased its patrols in the area, and those patrols will be more frequent and also slow moving. So we'll be moving through the town centre on a more slow basis, and also we'll be parking in the town centre at various locations that are visible to try and provide a deterrence, and those will be increased between 7:30am and 8pm.
Thank you.
Councillor Sosowski.
My question is in regards to the works that are happening at Bath Road and Morley Drive, and more specifically the intersection of Morley Drive with Tonkin Highway and the roundabout there. There's a situation happening there at the moment where you come into the roundabout and all of a sudden one of the lanes just completely cuts off, and it's like you just come up to a wall of cones and it's a 2-lane road, but all of a sudden like you have to quickly go like, oh gosh, like there's a real issue with merging around that roundabout at Tonkin Highway, Morley Drive. So I'm just wondering, has the city had any input into the traffic management plan around that area? Because I currently feel as though the way it's set up at the moment at that Tonkin Highway, Morley Drive intersection is extremely dangerous.
Thank you. I'll go to the Director.
Through the chair, Morley Drive is a state road, so we don't have input or we don't provide approvals for the traffic management that's there. But what I will do, I'll take that information on board, and tomorrow, as a priority, we'll contact Main Roads and their project people and just see what we can do to improve the situation. I haven't seen it myself, but we'll have a look at it and make contact with Main Roads to get that rectified.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, 2 issues, please. The first question is with regards to our website, where we have links to the agendas and minutes. There aren't links there to the live stream YouTube channel. Is there an option, even if it's after the meeting, to have a link under each meeting to the specific YouTube meeting, so it's easy for residents to go to the relevant meeting instead of searching on YouTube or even know that it's on YouTube? Can
I'll
we do
go
that?
to the Manager of Governance.
Through the presiding member, thank you for the question. I'll take that on notice and look into the options around what we can do there.
Thank you. My other question is with regards to the many questions that we have been getting specifically with regards to trailing road and the low-cost urban road safety. Is there an option to change the order of our precincts, of the implementation of the precincts, so that the area that captures Trailing Road and the Maylands Peninsula Primary School, which I think it's Maylands Peninsula, I think that's the name or something, comes next to address. I feel there is a lot of concerns. We had it at the AGM of electors and even this meeting and before constantly, quite a lot of concerns specifically around safety around the Maylands Peninsula Primary School. Maybe the order can be reconsidered.
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, the projects were delivered in a particular order. Off the top of my head, I can't remember where that one's sitting in the pecking order in terms of those projects.
In 5 years.
Yeah, but
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, but what I'll do is I'll take that on notice. We will go and talk to our project team and also Main Roads and just see where it is at in terms of funding and whether we can change the order and what the process would be to change that order.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to ask a follow-up question to something Councillor Eveson asked when you talked about the Galleria. Sorry, the director used a word I didn't understand about the building permit that was recently issued, defitting. Is that what I heard? I just don't know what was approved, sorry.
I'll go to the director.
Thank you. Through the chair, I don't have every specification, but typically defitting relates to removing elements within the building that are no longer required because they will be replaced thereafter. So it's like a pre-demolition of sorts.
Thank you for explaining. Can I also ask a question relating also to Trailing Road, and just to follow up, because in the just to follow up also on the question asked by Matthew Morgan in public question time today in writing, it says the treatments have been designed in the response says these treatments have been designed and approved by Main Roads and are currently awaiting funding availability for implementation. Can I just check, please, for clarification, funding availability from where? What funding stream is this?
I'll go to the director.
The funding stream is the low-cost urban road safety program. So we've already delivered 3 precincts. That's just another precinct that hasn't received funding at this stage, and we're waiting to hear back from Main Roads in terms of when that funding will come through.
So to clarify, is that muni funds or is that funding from Main Roads?
Fully funded by Main Roads.
Thank you. Okay, can I also ask some questions I want to ask? So today we adopted our place names, and we've got a bunch of new Aboriginal names to use in our area. I'm just wondering, which is great, and I look forward to seeing them implemented. I'm just wondering, in terms of people that are looking for names, or is there a process that people could request place names? I'm particularly thinking about our urban forest project and another area of Eric Singleton wetlands, the western side of it, which the council's bought and is slowly rehabilitating. Just wondering, I've certainly had requests for those places to have names, particularly Aboriginal names, and just wondering what would be the process for people requesting those to be named.
I'll go to the director.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. So the project that was undertaken involved decoding of the place and also engagement with traditional owners and Aboriginal people. And with that, there needs to be that heavy engagement to actually understand what the place name is. So we don't currently have a process per se for someone to request. We consider a place name at a location. The remit of the project with CAN, the Community Arts Network, it was open to the group to identify those meaningful places and what those place names would be. So from that, I would say that these were the most prevalent place names that came through. I would have to look into if we had a process for the second part, but I would imagine that would require a project for us to undertake that.
Thank you. I just want to also make a statement in the form of a question, my favourite thing. I just wanted to ask if I could please thank our environmental health officers, the unsung heroes of our organisation, I think, who've been working really hard on mosquito control, food inspections, keeping our food and water safe, and also working with people with hoarding issues in our community. I know they go above and beyond.
Thank you. I'm sure that'll be passed on. Any
And
other
on behalf
questions?
of the team, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so item 13 is new business of an urgent nature. There is none this evening. Item 14, meeting closed to the public. There are no confidential items this evening. So I will now close the meeting at 9:35 p.m. Thank you, Council. Liz.